Man, look at all these conspiracy theories coming through. I thought conspiracy theories are false, but every single one of them that the Brexiteers were warning us about and the media was saying it's a conspiracy theory, every single one of them is coming true today after the conference on the future of Europe. So I was told that there's not going to be an EU army, but they actually do have the joint armed forces of the Union. I hope the Germans are going to be leading those. The abolishment of the veto. Do you know what this is? This is the destruction of the sovereign state. This is why they were so upset about the fact that Poland's constitution was considered by the Polish to be more important than the European Union law, because they don't want that. They literally want to be an empire. In fact, Juncker said that the European Union should be an empire for good. Is this what Europe needs? Another empire? Ruled by the Germans, right? With a little bit of help from the French. But I'm pretty sure the Germans and the French really care about what's happening in Bulgaria, for example. And the Germans have the best of the Bulgarians at heart. But it doesn't matter, because now Bulgaria, if this happens, they won't be able to veto. This is why I love Guy Verhofstadt. Because when you don't have accountability, and when the little people can't do anything against you, you can just say what's on your mind. And Juncker did the same. So these people are very transparent with what they try to accomplish. And this is why you have people freaking out whatever Guy Verhofstadt tweets, because he spills the beans a little bit too much. Like, how do you think all these conspiracy theorists happen to know the future? They listen to people like Guy Verhofstadt or Juncker. And they took their word for it. But if you don't know who Guy Verhofstadt is, like a couple of years ago, he got hammered in the election. I mean, he got fewer people voting for him than UKIP won votes in the UK, just so you can understand. And he got to negotiate Brexit on behalf of the European Union. So a man with a handful of votes was negotiating on behalf of 500 million souls. Does that sound democratic to you? That does sound like a system that's honest? And not to mention the way the European Union started, it was a trade agreement, and then it got more and more powers over time, to the point where it's now becoming a super state. And I think besides the UK, where they actually had the referendum, no one voted for this. Like, no one wanted this. And notice how at no point do they ask referendums. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jean-Claude Juncker said, like, if you want to destroy the European Union, have more referendums. They do not care what people think, and they have the audacity to talk about democracy and protecting democracy, because, like, they're copy-pasting American talking points. And it's like, dude, in the European Union, there's no democracy. Like, it's a sham. It's just like having a lot of rubber stamps and having the correct procedures to make it look democratic, but it's not. Okay, there is no way. Like for example, I didn't vote for Ursula von Leyen, and yet she is in charge, because the system is made in such a way to make it look like, okay, well, she is democratically elected, but no, like, it's authoritarian in nature, especially with the removal of the veto. This is why, again, like when Poland said that its constitutional law is superseding European law, they freaked out, because that's completely against the point. No, the point is that the European Union dominates every single nation state. That's not even like the way the Americans do things. Like, Americans have the federal government, but even the federal government has limits, and the nation states, I mean the states of the United States, if you will, have authority in a lot of matters. Because it makes sense. Like, again, why would the German give a shit about the well-being of the Bulgarian? Not to mention with a lot of historical grievances that have happened in Europe. Why would some nations care about? I mean, in Europe, nations are competing with each other at a level that the Americans would probably not understand. I mean, okay, maybe in America you have like California now competing with Texas to attract more businesses and stuff. In Europe, it's unthinkable when you put the historical grievances and the competition between member states. you can't have this, which is why they need an army in order to enforce it. And you hear like people going like, oh, well, that's a good thing that they're removing the veto. Because there are perfectly good policies stuck in the pipeline for decades. Yeah, but like, who decides that they are good policies? Like, if a nation state that actually does elect their leaders democratically, like they keep talking about, oh my god, like Viktor Orban is a dictator, meh, 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 meh. Viktor Orban is democratically elected by its people. Okay? So if Viktor Orban, for example, has a veto, that veto is because the people in his country have elected him to have the veto. Like, he is far more democratic than the European Union. Finally, one or two countries can't stop a decision single-handedly anymore. Again, like, this is why they need the army. Because if they keep pushing for this, then countries will just leave the EU. And you won't have like one or two. You'll have like the V4, for example, just leaving EU. And you'll need an army to go like, oh, well, we need to bring them back into the fold. It's absolutely disturbing. The Chinification of Europe is where this is going. Because in order to maintain this, like, if you want to force people to do something, you need ways to do it. So one of the ways to do it is to control information, restrict human liberties, make sure that everyone is being surveilled, at least the political activists and the press is being controlled. We're going to see that if this is where the future is at. Now, some person said, oh, well, just because Guy Verhofstadt is tweeting it. Yeah, a tweet from Guy Verhofstadt is not the same thing as actually happening. This is professor of EU law. Like, when am I allowed to be concerned as a European citizen? At which point, when I have the person negotiating Brexit tweeting this shit and talking about the conference on the future of Europe, at which point am I allowed to be concerned? After it's being implemented? Because this is the trick that they keep pulling. I've seen this trick in the book time and time again. Politicians are saying they will do something. People are getting concerned. They're told, no, just shut up. Like, it's no big deal. It's just one crazy guy. And then it's being done, and after it's being done, if you complain, well, it doesn't matter, because it's already done, right? So, or they call you a bad person for complaining. Like, the thing you're worried about isn't going to happen. It's like, okay, maybe it's happening, but it's not as bad as you think. Okay, it already happened. The people who complain about the thing are actually the problem. This is how the press writes about these issues, you know? And it is sad. We are moving towards a time of more fascistic reign, if you will. Like, human rights are being restricted all across the West. Especially like in Canada, for example. Canada and Australia is looking a little bit more like China every day. You know, there was a war. I mean, World War II, where after the Allies won, they realized why human rights are important and why restricting liberties is a bad thing. Well, I guess that generation isn't here anymore, so we can try it again, you know? Like, maybe we can do authoritarianism good this time. Maybe we can do empires good this time. Who knows? I am not a fan. I don't think anyone is going to be asked whether they want this or not. There's not going to be polls or referendums whether or not this is a good idea. It's going to be interesting if you're going to have like right-wingers, like not like the American right-wingers, but like actual far-right fascists managing to win elections and get in the European Union and have access to all these perks and powers. That would be muy interesante. But, you know, it is what it is. What can you do? And seeing all these people like simping for the EU is very interesting. Like, again, none of this is good for the average individual. Like if you're a big corporation, if you're a politician, if you're part of that class, then yeah, you're going to love this. But for the average Joe, this is cancer right here. Like, it's taking away the power of the average Joe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.